It is so funny that sometimes whenever a corporate head responds to a controversy, it sounds as if they either have zero clue what's happening or they just don't care and they're hoping that it'll blow over. Yes, since the announcement that Funimation was going to get shut down on April 2nd, there's obviously been two massive controversies that have been happening from this whole thing. Yes, the first one was technically falsely being reported. People were saying that Crunchyroll was going to be increasing their cost to everybody, when in fact it was just people that were on Funimation that were grandfathered into a really cheap price were being moved over to, Crunchyroll, and at some point whenever their sub ended, they were going to get increased to what everybody else was paying for their subs. So that part was kind of like, yeah, they didn't really deserve that, but it was odd that Crunchyroll never said anything. I mean, the whole announcement itself was never really publicly stated. It was like they put it in a little article over here and they emailed people. It's like they didn't want anybody to take note of what they were doing here. It was all hush hush. And then yes, obviously the other massive controversy, which I think got more global attention, is another case of a company shutting down digital ownership even though people paid for it. People expecting that when I buy this digital copy, I can have it for, hopefully, at least a long time. But yes, a lot of people would expect that you're going to be able to own it forever, especially since the company itself isn't going away. This isn't a case where Funimation is shutting down and it is its own company. This is a case where a bigger company bought it, shut it down, and deleted everybody's ownership. They have plenty of other platforms they could put those on, but they're not going to do it. And I think that goes in that whole realm of, I think their expectations here was that nobody would notice. And anybody that cares, they're not going to be loud enough. Let's just hope that we can get rid of this. And with this recent response from the actual head, or the president of Crunchyroll, it seems like that's the case. It seems like they were really hoping that nobody would notice. But yes, Crunchyroll's president, Rahul Purini, has told The Verge, "We are working really hard directly with each customer to ensure that they will have appropriate value for what they got in digital copy initially. As people reach out to us through customer service, we are responding and handling each of those requests as they prefer." Right. Which is kind of one of those cases where they think, or at least they hope, that this response will quell the issue that people have. Again, the expectation here that people had digital ownership of these movies and these TV series is that when I buy it, I can keep using it. And now Crunchyroll is essentially saying, we're going to shut that down and we're not going to give you that equal value over here. But right here, he's actually telling The Verge, don't worry, we're talking with each of the customers and we're helping them. We're going to make sure they have appropriate value for what they got. What is appropriate value? That's the question mark. And I'm glad, my gosh, I have to give credit where credit's due. The Verge actually pushed back. And it's a rare thing I know with journalism these days, but The Verge pushed back. They said, what is this appropriate value? Purini said, so it could be that they get access to a digital copy on any of the existing other services where they might be able to access it. It could be a discount access to our subscription service, so they can access the same shows through our subscription service. Okay, the first one here is actually something that somebody brought to my attention. Shout out to Zaxtra on Twitter. They point out that yes, technically, Funimation has used Ultraviolet before. You would buy a Blu-ray and you would get a code to use it on Ultraviolet. Other services that have some sort of paid-to-view type of ownership, digital ownership of movies. And yes, technically, Sony themselves have multiple platforms to do this. PlayStation Network, you can buy movies and you can stream them whenever you want. They had that whole controversy here recently where they were taking an entire catalog off of their site. People got angry and they're like, never mind, we're not going to do that. People got too mad. And I mean, they have other platforms. You can go to Sony Entertainment's website and buy ownership of a movie. Now, yes, again, it's technically going to other sites like Ultraviolet. It's going to Apple. They could technically transfer that over. But the problem is, it's not worth it in their eyes. They're hoping this all blows over. Now, the other statement here is where I get frustrated, saying we're going to give you a discount access subscription service. Like, what they're basically saying there is that, oh, you have these shows? Don't worry, they're on Crunchyroll and you can stream them there. The problem is, over here on Funimation, they paid once and they owned it and they can access it whenever they want. And yes, by their website said, forever. Make sure to check the terms of service. Forever, though. I like that actually The Verge pointed out that, yeah, on their website, on Funimation.com, it still, at that point, when they made that article, it still said you can have access to it forever. I went and checked there after this Verge article. It's gone. The Verge pointed out that they still said forever, and just by that article going up, they took it down. They finally edited that page to take it off. It's no longer there because it's a lie. This is this ongoing issue that we're having right now, and I agree with a lot of people. We need laws in effect here. Somebody needs to do something about this because we're getting too many examples lately of companies selling people digital goods with the expectation from the buyer that I can keep accessing that. Yeah, yes, it's difficult to say forever, but at least if the company's still active, it should still be available. That should be at least the bare minimum that we can expect. That as long as Sony exists and they shut down Funimation, they have to take on that right and that responsibility to keep actually servicing that. But that aside, over here you're paying and you're getting access to it whenever you want. You don't have to keep paying for it. You get access to it whenever you want. Now he's saying, we're going to give you a discount for a sub. What that's saying is that we're going to give you a little discount, but then if you keep wanting to access it, we're going to start charging you. Thus, you're paying more over time to keep accessing it. Web Gaming, a friend of mine, he sent an email. He's got 50 anime titles that he got through Funimation. 50. And what they give him? A 3 months free of the Mega Fan plan. But again, after that, that's it. You don't get access to those 50 anymore. Even if those 50 are even on the platform. And they get into that in a minute with this Verge article. Again, I think they did a great job with this article. In this article, they rightfully point out that the options haven't been formally announced or detailed. But Perini went on to say that customers were currently taking advantage of this. That's a good point. Again, this goes back to what I said at the very beginning of this video. It's almost as if he's saying this to The Verge and he has no clue what they're actually doing. And again, the key thing is here is they've never made an actual announcement. They're not telling people what they need to do. They're not telling customers, hey, by the way, we're shutting this down and you're going to lose these things. So make sure to contact us so we can give you some sort of reimbursement. No, they're hoping that nobody notices it or very few people come to them so they don't have to pay out anything. They're hoping, again, that people just don't care. The Verge went on to ask Perini why customers will be losing their digital copies. He responded, as we looked at the usage of that and the number of people that were redeeming those and using them, it was just not a feature that was available in Crunchyroll and isn't in our roadmap. This is a thing where in my mind, because I really like to make sure that I'm looking at both perspectives. And this is something why a lot of things I don't actually talk about, because some people hate when you think about both sides. From a business perspective, this is exactly what I kind of expected from the very beginning. When they announced this whole thing and the digital stuff was going away, my immediate business mindset went, that makes sense. They would have a board meeting and they go, okay, do we equip Crunchyroll to be able to view these things? Okay, well, that's going to take a lot of coding. We're going to have to put this into effect. We're going to have to move the movies over. We're going to have to contact the license companies, the people that we got the licenses from, and make sure that it's okay to have them on Crunchyroll's platform because not all this stuff is on Crunchyroll.com. And then they put that all together in a cost. How much is it going to cost to do that? Okay, now let's look at how many people are actually utilizing this. Somebody buys a Blu-ray. Do they actually take the code out and put it on the Funimation on their account? A lot of cases, yes, I would admit, most people just don't care. They have the Blu-ray sitting on the shelf. They're not going to redeem that code. But the problem here is that the mindset here is that people should access it regularly if they want it. That's not how ownership works. I have tons of Blu-rays up here on my shelf, and I don't access them on a regular basis to watch them. The point is, when I want to, I take it down and I'm able to watch it. The point is that you bought it because you want to watch it at some point. That's how ownership works. And that doesn't seem to click in their minds. Their mind is people accessing it? Not, would people want to access it? That is the question. That's really the thing that should be on your mind. But their mindset, again, the access isn't that much. Thus, we can cut it and people won't care. That's what brought them to that conclusion. People aren't using it. People aren't accessing it. Thus, people won't complain. And thus, we don't have to spend that money to move everything over. That's literally what they're saying right there. It's literally how he's pointing it out. It wasn't something we wanted to put on the roadmap because it would cost us money and it wouldn't be much benefit. Now, here's the frustrating thing. Build that so that somebody can do that. That's what they're not thinking. That's what they're not really thinking about, is that if they build it, people will use it. And additionally, you have future use of it. In the future, you can have digital only that's not a part of the subscription service that you can have. So if somebody searches for a title, a movie especially, and it's not available, and they don't want to make it available on a subscription, they can make it available if you pay, which is, oh my gosh, shocking here, literally something that Sony does on all their platforms. Go to PlayStation Network, look for a movie. Guess what? That's there. You can buy it and watch it. But are people not using it? So I guess you better shut it down, right? If you build it, you can keep these customers happy and you have future use of it. That's just what doesn't click for me. He continues saying, this is salt and wounds, I will say these are customers that we value a lot and are working really hard directly with each one of them to ensure that they have the appropriate value for what they got in the digital copy initially. Again, this is this appropriate value thing that he keeps throwing out. What is the appropriate value of the ownership of an item? You buy something and you own it and you're able to touch it whenever you want. What is the equal value of that? That you own it and you can touch it whenever you want. Saying we're going to give you discount for what's available on Crunchyroll, which might not be that title, that you have to continue to pay for, that's not an equal value. Saying that we're going to give you 3 months free on that platform, but then you have to start paying to keep accessing that movie if it's even there, is not equal value. This is what they're not getting. Now, here's the interesting thing. This article, which was done by Ash Parrish, I hope I'm saying that right, Ash Parrish, went on to open a customer service ticket with Funimation to express concerns about losing their digital copies. They had Vision of Escaflowne and Steins Gate. Vision of Escaflowne is not on Crunchyroll. They were given pretty much a copy-paste customer service response, apologizing for the inconvenience and giving no solution to the issue. Now, again, I said earlier, and I'll give them credit, Web Gaming, who contacted them, they gave him 3 months of their mega service plan. And again, that's probably because he had 50 titles. But apparently, for this individual making this article, again, according to them, they had 2 things. One that wasn't available on Crunchyroll. They were basically given the, oh, sorry for the inconvenience, but we're going to work hard to make sure that Crunchyroll's great. Hope you sub over there, even though Escaflowne is not over there. It's crazy. The nutshell here is, again, this is one of those cases where the president of Crunchyroll went on there and said, what? What are you guys talking about? Oh, people are mad about that? What? This is like a non-issue. Okay, yeah, sure, we'll help them out. It's not that big of a deal. Nobody's using it. Nobody's upset. You know, not even acknowledging everybody being upset, which again, I don't think most people are impacted by this. I do agree with him saying that not everybody's really using this. The point is that this is a bigger issue. This is a bigger topic about digital ownership. The only reason so many people and a lot of very big YouTubers and commenters and articles were made for this whole thing is because this shines a light on something that everybody is currently thinking about. Do I really own what I buy? It's been plaguing gaming for the longest time, and now it's hitting video entertainment and music and all that kind of stuff. That people don't really own what they're buying. That these companies are getting away with the fact that they can stop this stuff and they see no repercussions for it. Nobody's going to sue them. Nobody's going to sue them over their ownership of anime on Funimation. That's what they're hoping. And that's why there's so much outcry, is because it's the only thing that people can do. They can't sue Funimation. They can't sue Sony. So all they can do is say, this isn't right, and this needs to change. And there needs to be a change to how these companies are handling. There needs to be laws, really. There needs to be laws and regulations to prevent this from happening. This is ridiculous. When you say on your website, you can own it forever, and then put that little asterisk to check our terms of service where the terms of service says, no, you don't own it for forever. You own it until we say no. There's got to be something to stop that from happening. It's ridiculous. But again, this response is literally saying, we're going to compensate people, but it's really them just compensating with just an opening the door to their subscription service, which, yeah, again, one, doesn't have all those titles. They still have like 200 plus titles on Funimation that's not on Crunchyroll. In addition, there's a lot of things that are purchased with digital copies that aren't even available on Funimation, that were only available to those that purchased it, that aren't moving. So what is your response here? Their response here is, man, this shouldn't be that big of a deal. And we just need to continue to act like it doesn't exist until it goes away. Because again, they're not even telling people that you should contact us in order to get some compensation. It's ridiculous. So Anyhow, I just want to get on here because I seen this article, and again, Ash Perish, really great article, really good job just pushing them. Again, I love whenever journalists really keep pushing, and really looking into the stuff and actually seeing what's going on and pushing back. So props to Verge, but anyhow, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, make sure that like button down below, comment. Let me know what you think of this whole situation. Do you think it's actually equal value to get a $5 discount for a month of Crunchyroll versus the actual ownership and access of it forever? Doesn't sound like it to me. But anyhow, if you're new to the channel, make sure that subscribe button's got my content. I do news reviews, first impressions, top list. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you want to support the channel more, I have Patreon link, tips, links, super thanks, membership button down below. Greatly appreciate what it does. Y'all take care.